storms hitting the west, leading to flash flooding in San Diego and prompting a state of emergency. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to West Coast Wrap. I'm Alex Savage. The wet weather causing problems all across California. We're seeing severe flooding from Southern California up to the far northern parts of the state. And the rain is not over. In San Diego, Mayor Todd Gloria declared a state of emergency tonight. Rescue teams helping those stuck inside homes as the water rises. Part of Interstate 5 also flooded, and that brought traffic to a stop. And tonight, thousands are without power. So far, there's no reports of any injuries in the San Diego area. In the Los Angeles area, an evacuation warning is in effect for Topanga Canyon through tomorrow. Authorities worried heavy rain will trigger mudslides. Fox 11's Christina Gonzalez shows us how these storms are causing big problems across Southern California.
Whoa, whoa! Vehicles hydroplane on the 10 freeway in Baldwin Park. Driving in this rain, difficult and dangerous everywhere. The driver in this truck hit a fire hydrant on Latuna Canyon Road. They're okay. The last in a series of storms crossing our area packed a punch.
There's some power lines down.
Off Avenue 60 in Highland Park, where residents got on the Citizen app to report down power lines.
South Avenue 60 between Figueroa and Herman. There is no power. The 110 South, they're closing down the left, 2 lanes.
Security video shows a tree coming down on a parked vehicle in Woodland Hills. A much clearer view here. One can appreciate the damage.
But it's getting so much worse because the tree is sinking into the car. If I was in it, that would be a whole different. If anyone was in it, that would have been horrible because like it hit right on the 2 seats of the front of the car.
And that was Fox 11's Christina Gonzalez reporting for us. Citizen app users also posted images of a scaffolding collapse that happened during today's storm in Los Angeles. Firefighters at the scene working to secure the area during the rain. It's unclear whether stormy conditions caused the collapse. So far, no reports of any injuries here. A lot of people cleaning up after this latest storm left behind a mess, and rising water forced a lot of people from their homes. In Santa Cruz, one cul-de-sac was flooded after several inches of rain came down overnight. Water flowing from a nearby lagoon caused the water levels to rise rapidly in this area. Cars became submerged and 5 units in one apartment complex were flooded.
In about 15 minutes, it went up about 4 inches, it was pretty crazy. My car was right over here and the water line was right at the top of the tires. It's pretty frustrating, unfortunately, because this isn't the first time. It happens often and you feel kind of trapped because the entire complex gets flooded and then you're just kind of stuck there in the middle of the night.
Mudslides and downed trees also affected a number of other roads all across the Santa Cruz area. And these storms also dumping snow up in the mountains. The California Highway Patrol and Caltrans had chain-controlled checkpoints set up in the San Bernardino Mountains earlier today. Some drivers who didn't have their cars prepared for the snow were forced to turn around and head back down the mountain. Let's turn things over now to KTVU meteorologist Rosemary Orozco, who is tracking these latest storms to hit the west. Rosemary?
Yes, Alex, these warmer storms bringing the San Francisco area coastal range 5 to 7 inches of rainfall since Friday. So easy to understand why there was so much flooding and toppling of trees going on out there. Here's a view of San Francisco this afternoon where the scattered showers finally moved out, leaving dry weather tonight. But the afternoon high in San Francisco, 59 degrees. Here's a look at the West Coast satellite and radar, where we do have still showers popping up over the Pacific Northwest, along the state of California there, and off towards the east a little bit into Nevada. If we move in a little bit closer, a flood watch remains in place for the North Bay of San Francisco due to the possibility of creeks and streams flooding over their banks. And as we head into Southern California, a flood watch here as well, going into the evening hours, 9 o'clock in Southern California, 10 o'clock for areas of the North Bay, and widespread storm reports reported. Here is a look at Southern California, where we have cars there, it looks like submerged in water. And then as we head to the Sierra Snow Lab reporting 9 inches of new snow in the last 24 hours. Meanwhile, Donner Sugar Bowl reporting 22 inches there since the storms began back on Friday. As we get into tomorrow, it's going to be a dry one over parts of the West Coast, most of it. Pacific Northwest will continue to see a little bit of wet weather there as this pushes off to the east, and you can see it will be a bit active over the Four Corners, including areas of Utah as well as Arizona and New Mexico. But it's not going to stay dry for long. Here's a look at Wednesday. Another storm moving in. This one not quite as strong, expecting half-inch or less over parts of California. Here's a view of what we do expect accumulation-wise with this next system here. As you go to the north, Pacific Northwest will pick up another inch to an inch and a half. You get into California, though, it looks like half-inch or less. So we're getting a little bit of a break there, and then it looks like moving farther out, we will have a break in areas over California. Pacific Northwest stays fairly active, low 50s, upper 40s as we move forward. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, wet weather in the forecast, but the state of California after Wednesday getting a little bit of a break. As we take a look at areas, the inner Mountain West, we've got dry conditions in Denver and Phoenix, not too bad either. Low 60s expected for Wednesday and Thursday. Alex?
All right, Rosemary, thank you. Temperatures slowly warming up across Oregon, giving people there a chance to begin cleaning up after last week's dangerous ice storm. Fox 12's Julia Lopez spoke with people in southwest Portland who expect the recovery process is going to take a very long time.
Neighborhoods across southwest Portland are littered with downed trees like these, downed power lines, and crushed homes. I've been talking with neighbors who say that the cleanup process has only just begun.
You start thinking that it couldn't get any worse when we didn't have power, and then the water broke, so then we didn't have water.
Laura McCardle spent a week without power, water, or internet.
For about 10 minutes, I had power and water, and I was like, this is great. And I walked in my bedroom or walked in the house and heard the sound.
But she says the recovery is only just getting started.
I went running for the end of the driveway while calling the contractor who had just pulled out of the driveway. Come back, come back.
A burst pipe caused the ceiling in her bedroom to fall through. A repair crew came all the way from New Jersey to help in Portland's restoration efforts. Right now, they're at McCardle's house, preparing to rip out the bedroom flooring, walls, and ceiling. She thinks it'll be at least 6 months until she's out of her guest room, and she's no stranger to these kind of repairs.
I had a tree last December 27th fall on my house, and it's taken a year, and we're still working on that.
She says she's lived in this house in southwest Portland for 10 years. She and her neighbors say they've never seen damage like this that brought the entire block together.
People brought us water, big water bottles, 5-gallon tubs. Once we got our power back on, people brought over fans and heaters trying to dry out the damage from the water break in the master bedroom.
McCardle considers herself one of the lucky ones. She says her entire neighborhood is dealing with downed trees and damaged homes. She's grateful that after a week of winter weather, the work can begin. She says one big takeaway from the storm, you can't be too prepared for disaster to strike.
We all need to be more prepared for heat and not so much food. That's easier to find, but water and heat are important.
McCardle says it scares her to think that if her neighbors hadn't have brought her water, she would have gone without it for a week. She says she was blocked in by ice and live wires. But she says in the end, she's grateful that her son had some camping gear so they were able to make coffee and build a blanket fort to conserve heat. In southwest Portland, I'm Julia Lopez, Fox 12 Oregon.
In Washington state, a large sinkhole swallowed an SUV that had 2 people inside. This happened over the weekend in Vancouver. Police say a water main break likely caused the sinkhole to form. Caitlin Bickness says she and her boyfriend were on their way home when their car fell right into the sinkhole.
It felt like being on a roller coaster when you go down the big dip. And the car just started to fill with water.
The couple ended up climbing out of a window to escape. Luckily, they are both doing okay tonight. A hiker in Utah was sent to the hospital over the weekend after being hit by a falling chunk of ice. This happened near Waterfall Canyon, close to Ogden. A search and rescue team responded to help the woman who walked to the trailhead and was then transported to the hospital. Authorities recommend avoiding areas like this one where ice may fall. In Northern California, one roadway through Placer County remains closed tonight after crews blasted some huge rocks into tiny pieces. This was the scene on Forest Hill Road at a recreation area near Auburn this weekend. Crews blasted those boulders to clear the rock and mudslide that was tied to the recent stormy weather. Placer County officials have not yet given an estimated time for when that roadway will be fully reopened to traffic. Coming up on West Coast Wrap tonight, presidential candidates heading west this week, and two of those campaigns will be in the same city on the same day. Coming up, how they're hoping to get voters' attention. Also, Super Bowl organizers just gifted 4 people in Las Vegas with the hottest ticket in town. Why they say it's recognition for a job well done in their community. Thousands of Cal State University faculty members and staff launched a 5-day strike today. They're demanding a 12% wage increase along with other benefits. As KCRA 3's Lise Mitri reports, the statewide strike has left many students wondering whether they'll have classes.
This marks the start of a week-long strike for the California Faculty Association, or CFA, representing about 29,000 lecturers, librarians, counselors, and coaches working on the 23 California State University campuses.
This is really important. This is a historic strike. We've never had a system-wide CSU strike.
Ann Luna is president of CFA in Sacramento and an associate professor of sociology at Sacramento State. She says the union started reopener contract negotiations to modify its current contract back in May, calling for 12% pay increases.
June 30th, our current contract expires, and then we'll have to go back to the bargaining table all over.
The latest offer from CSU was a 15% raise over 3 years, 5% each year. Luna says the problem with that is
it would have restarted the contract entirely and held this to another 3-year contract without being able to open up those new articles. And there's a lot of things that we're concerned about, in particular thinking about protections for intellectual property with regard to AI, right? So we want to make sure that we still have jobs and they don't just start teaching a lot of classes with AI.
But CSU says the union's demand for a 12% raise would cost $312 million just this year, calling it, quote, financially unrealistic.
What kind of power?
With negotiations stalled and the strike underway,
the CSU is mighty.
The center of campus was quiet today, but Sac State has a message for students back for the first day today from winter break.
We want students to know that campus is open. I know it could be a little confusing right now with so many different messaging coming out.
But they say students should check with their instructors to make sure they have class.
What do we want?
Despite the strike slated to continue through Friday. In Sacramento, Lise Mitri, KCRA 3 News.
As the presidential race ramps up, the top contenders are shifting their focus to the West later this week. Former President Trump announced today he's extending a visit here to the West Coast with a stop in Las Vegas. Last week, he announced he would be attending the Arizona GOP's Freedom Fest on Friday. And now he plans to follow up that event with a campaign rally in Las Vegas on Saturday. Vice President Kamala Harris will be in Las Vegas on that same day as former President Trump. She's expected to speak at 2 different events. One will be with Nevada Congressman Stephen Horsford, who's seeking re-election. Details on the second event have not yet been made public. The vice president was in Wisconsin today, where she marked the 51st anniversary of the Roe v. Wade decision by speaking out against new restrictive abortion laws.
One does not have to abandon their faith or deeply held beliefs to agree. The government should not be telling her what to do with her body. This is, in fact, a healthcare crisis.
Reproductive rights are getting attention ahead of tomorrow's presidential primary in New Hampshire. Republican Nikki Haley weighed in on the issue over the weekend when she was asked whether she would support a national abortion ban.
Yes, I'm unapologetically pro-life, but I don't judge anyone for being pro-choice. What we can do is let's find consensus.
And today, President Biden convened key cabinet members to discuss abortion and reproductive rights. It was the 4th meeting of his task force on reproductive health care access since Roe v. Wade was overturned back in 2022. Healthcare officials in Denver say the growing number of migrants arriving in that city is putting a strain on hospitals. Fox's Christina Coleman breaks down the challenges healthcare workers are facing.
The Safety Net Hospital Denver Health has spent about $136 million in care that it did not get compensated for last year after treating tens of thousands of uninsured patients. Denver Health CEO Donna Lynn notes that they can't continue to operate under these financially challenging conditions as this humanitarian crisis rages on. City leaders are requesting federal funding to help. Last year, more than 8,000 migrants made about 20,000 visits to Denver Health for a variety of medical reasons, including childbirth, dental emergencies, malnutrition, and mental health disorders. And that's on top of the scores of uninsured Americans Denver Health is already treating.
It's putting additional stress, first of all, on our employees who, feel a lot of responsibility for taking care of people who come in with these conditions. But it's also putting stress on our finances. We can't invest in the things that many other hospitals invest in. During the cold spell, we just had a pipe burst and we had to take some beds out of operation. Had we been able to invest in that building, we might not have seen, that happen.
The city estimates more than 36,000 migrants have arrived in Denver over the past 13 months, and many are in desperate need of medical care.
We're seeing severe dental disease in the population. Some of them have acute illnesses as a result of their arduous journey, living in unsanitary conditions, drinking poor drinking water. And so we're doing the best we can from a clinical standpoint to take care of them. But we really need a system in place to help pay for that medical care.
Without federal support and without federal action, the impact on a city like Denver is this would be a $180 million impact on our budget in 2024. That's more than 10% of our entire city budget.
Denver's mayor says city officials are evaluating how to cut 10% across all city agencies, including Parks and Rec and Public Safety, to offset money being spent to help the migrants. Christina Coleman, Fox News.
Denver Mayor Mike Johnston says the Biden administration has been supportive of his request for help. He blames congressional Republicans for holding up additional funding as they negotiate a new border security deal. Today, the Supreme Court ruled that Border Patrol agents can start removing razor wire on federal land along the southern border. Texas Governor Greg Abbott had installed the wire fencing aimed at keeping migrants from entering the U.S. Texas officials say illegal border crossings dropped significantly since the barbed wire was installed, but the Biden administration says the barrier impeded the agents' ability to inspect the border and apprehend non-citizens. The governor of Hawaii delivered his State of the State address today. Governor Josh Green began his speech with a moment of silence, honoring the lives lost in the Lahaina wildfires back in August on the island of Maui. The governor says the American Red Cross is still helping to house more than 5,000 people.
We will never forget the day that the fires took our loved ones and changed the lives of so many on Maui. The people of Maui have shown strength in the face of adversity. But the days ahead will not be easy, and they will continue to need our support, and we will be there for them as long as it takes.
The governor says the state has set aside up to $600 million in the budget for recovery costs, and that will continue into 2027. Coming up tonight on West Coast Wrap, dozens of stolen Stanley Cups found in a trunk worth thousands of dollars. The bizarre bust by police in Northern California. Also, 4 Las Vegas locals will get special treatment at this year's Super Bowl. Coming up tonight, why event organizers are calling them special guests. Stocks continue building on last week's momentum. Wall Street hit record territory ahead of the closing bell, with the Dow rising above 30,000 for the first time. Some of the big big winners included Disney, Walgreens, Alliance, and United Health. The Dow rose 138 points today. The Nasdaq gained 49, and the S&P 500 added 10 points. Later on this week, investors will be sorting through a wave of earnings and economic data, including last quarter's GDP and the PCE inflation report. A Sacramento woman is facing grand theft charges, accused of stealing more than $2,500 worth of Stanley Cups from a store last week. Employees at the store in Roseville told police the woman stocked a shopping cart with those popular water bottles and then just left without paying. When police stopped the suspect's car, they found 65 Stanley Cups in her car. Delani Garcia Lopez was arrested by police. Federal officials are recommending that airlines inspect those door plugs on more Boeing 737s after one of those panels blew off a Boeing jet mid-flight. The FAA says airlines should also inspect the panels on older models, the 737-900ER. Those planes have door plugs that are identical in design to the one that flew off an Alaska Airlines Boeing MAX 9 jet earlier this month. Boeing says it supports the FAA's decision. The plugs are those panels that seal holes left for extra doors when those doors aren't needed to meet emergency evacuation standards. Excitement is building for Super Bowl 58 in Las Vegas, coming up in less than 3 weeks. Fox 5's Shauna Kalafi has more tonight on the special guests who've been invited to the big game as a way to recognize the important work they do in the community.
Will the owners of Mario's West Side Market come down to the floor, please?
These individuals' dedication to community is unwavering, and it has not gone unnoticed.
A Super Bowl surprise for a pillar of the historic West Side community.
I am excited to announce that on behalf of the NFL, the Las Vegas Raiders, and the Las Vegas Super Bowl Host Committee, we're sending you to the Super Bowl.
They talked about how many years we've been here and all we do for the community, and then next thing I know, he says, we're sending you to the Super Bowl. And I was like, I never in my mind thought that that was what was happening.
For 26 years, Mario's West Side Market has been a staple of the historic West Side, a food desert lacking healthy options for residents. The market has been working to defeat that deficiency, and the Super Bowl committee wanted to award them for their commitment to the community.
All the work we do to support different programs within our community. We do a Bolden Little League. We have Back to School. We have a Christmas in the 106.
Mario's West Side Market recently doubled in size, opening at a new location in the same lot back in October, still with the same mission in mind.
I want to thank my customers. I want to thank my community. It feels good that what you do, there's people out there watching and taking notes.
Shauna Kalafi, Fox 5 News, local Las Vegas.
All right, finally tonight, let's check back in on these storms that we talked about at the top of the broadcast that are hitting the West Coast. This is the scene up in the Sierra in the Lake Tahoe area where this latest system has dropped several inches of snow. This video was shared by Palisades Tahoe Resort, and it shows all of that snow coming down overnight. The resort says it received another 4 inches at the upper elevations, but they also say it's mostly wet snow and rain when you get down to those lower elevations. Still, we'll take all of it. That does it for West Coast Wrap tonight. We appreciate you watching, and a reminder that you can stay up to date on all the stories we're covering at westcoastwrap.com, and you can stream all of our shows right there on your smart TV by downloading the Fox Local app. Have a great rest of your night. I'll see you back here tomorrow night.